Hi, Gary Port, NY Divorce Facts, Port and Sava. Macho, always the first one to get. Azuki, Yuzu's never going to wait. And then Kosho. Macho's been a little moody lately. He flew on me and bit me in the back of the neck just for the hell of it. And another time yesterday, he flew over to a chair I was standing next to just to lean over and bite my arm really hard. Azuki, on the other hand, been pretty mellow. Today she was hanging out on my shoulder, sharing my omelet with me. Today we're going to talk about an interesting topic, how to tick off a judge. Many years ago, I was sitting in court and I saw a woman say to a judge, "Your Honor, my son's not going to visitation because he doesn't want to be with his father." The judge, she leaned over her bench and looked at her and said, "Ma'am, your child is only 7 months old." When that happened, I was kind of surprised. But over the last 25 years, I've actually heard that story a number of times and have been party to it, standing next to a client or to the spouse when that statement has been made. The problem that we get is that we have one parent who so hates the other that they cannot conceive that their child would want to have anything to do with the other parent. And as a result, that parent interferes with visitation. We call it gatekeeping. We also call it parental alienation. But let's talk about gatekeeping specifically. Gatekeeping is where the custodial parent prevents the other parent from seeing the child. And this gatekeeper will have all sorts of reasons. My child doesn't want to see the father. He's a bad person. What I tell clients all the time, if the non-custodial parent is not a drug addict, not a sex offender, has not physically hit the child, is not in jail, that parent is parent of the year and will get unsupervised access to the child. I recently had a client who thankfully fired me because she wasn't listening. She was adamant that her child was not going to go to Connecticut to visit with the father. And I said, "That's where the father lives." She says, "Well, I don't want to stop visitation. I just don't want him going to Connecticut." So what do you expect? "Well, he can have day visits in New York." Why? "Well, because my kid shouldn't be going to Connecticut." And I told her, that same day I told her, in fact, I had a couple of kids flying up from Florida to see their father for the entire summer. Just because a parent lives out of state, it's not going to stop visitation. And I had another client, "Oh, but if my kid goes to stay with the father, the grandmother will be there, and the grandmother's a terrible person. She's going to be mean to my daughter. She's going to do all these terrible things to my daughter." So I said, "Well, do you have proof that she's ever done it?" "Well, she's never met my daughter." "Well, if she's never met your daughter, how do you know that she's going to do something terrible?" "Oh, because she's a mean person." And I said to her, judges can't make decisions on what could happen. Judges can only make decisions on what has happened. And if the grandmother has never met the child, I can't then turn around to the judge and say, "Oh, judge, you shouldn't allow visitation." Another one that comes up is, "Well, my husband physically abused me." Okay, let's assume that that is entirely true. The husband hit the wife. The question the judge has is, did the abuse occur in front of the child or not? If it did not occur in front of the child, the judge is not going to be too interested in that issue for custody. Because in the courts, we separate behavior towards a spouse and behavior towards a child. A person may be abusive to their spouse, but not abusive to their child. Now, do I personally believe that? No. But that's what the law is, and that's what we have to go by. And I explain that to people. If you can show that the parent has been abusive to the other parent in front of the child, you may have something. What are the consequences of being a gatekeeper? Well, very simple. The judge can expand visitation or change custody. If you have a parent who's a gatekeeper, the judge can turn around and say, "Well, you are not a good parent. You're not acting in the best interest of your child. And therefore, I'm going to take custody away from you, custodial parent, and give custody to the other parent who will not act as a gatekeeper." So the bottom line here is, unless your ex has serious issues, they are going to get visitation. And if the custodial parent interferes with that, that custodial parent may end up losing custody. If you have any questions on this, father's rights, mother's rights, parental alienation, gatekeeping, give us a call at Port and Sava for a free 15-minute telephone consultation. Remember, at Port and Sava, I try to help you get on with the rest of your life. Oops, sorry about that, sweetie.